what are some things that counselors do in their course of their profession that you struggle with when you in your own relationships? What are some things that you see in your clientele or you help your clients get better at that you are still working on personally?
The main one that comes to mind is I teach or I help people with conflict management.
Okay.
It is not a strong, I am definitely conflict averse. That is not, if I do not like arguing. It doesn't feel good.
So how do you problem solve then, or how do you affect change if you don't like conflict?
I push myself to do it.
Okay. Just face it. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets to a point, sometimes I'm quiet for a couple of days, but then eventually I practice what you preach and you need to say something. This is something that's bothering you. You need to speak it because it will just continue to bother you. And I know that up here, but here, I get a little bit nervous when there's criticism or I'm sharing, maybe an unpopular belief and so I would say I'm not the best, but I do it anyway.
Yeah, we had an example of that just a month or two ago. We were talking some administrative changes, some regulation changes that are going on at the federal level. We'll keep it nice and generic. We won't talk about which ones or which things. And I had asked you several pointed questions about it, and you had sort of slow rolled giving your answers on those.
Yes.
And I kind of didn't let you slow roll because I wanted to hear what your answers were on those. And you eventually opened up and kind of answered the question at hand. And then I revisited it like 15 minutes after we were done with our walk and everything. Like, why did it take you so long to answer that question? I think you gave me an answer that there was something along the lines of, I knew we didn't agree on this topic. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to really go into it. But I don't think it was because you were worried. Well, why didn't you want to go into it? If you remember, I'm trying to think why you didn't want to go into it. Well, I think you said something about my opinion of your views on it.
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning of the episode. You're somebody that thinks well on your feet.
Sure.
And so sometimes you ask questions that sometimes I do a lot of research these days, especially with all the false news and all of that.
We've all had to become better
Correct.
Judges of like what's true or not.
But sometimes you ask a question, and I do a lot with feelings. I hear I'm a feeler.
Right.
And so I hear if somebody's being oppressed, or I hear that somebody was being oppressed, but I went and did the research and then found out anyway, I feel you ask questions sometimes that maybe I haven't thought through all the way, but I still feel strongly it's not changing my opinion. But I feel, I don't know, uncomfortable, I guess, that people like to know things, right? And so when I hadn't thought about that piece of my opinion,
sure,
it kind of embarrassed, I guess, that I hadn't thought it all the way through, or I didn't have a way to articulate what it is I was feeling. I just know I feel this happened. It makes me feel bad here in my chest. And so sometimes that's enough for me to.
Yeah, so this actually is interesting because this goes back to the respect thing, right? The we process things differently. Mm-hmm. You needing the time to process on those things. In my defense, it was a topic we had talked about multiple times, so you had plenty of time to go back and do some more digging on there. Yeah, it's been good. I kind of learned a little bit more about why you're slow rolling those. So conflict. That's something you struggle with that you help a lot of people with. Anything else come to mind? The last means something did.
Sometimes, and this was more earlier in my career, feeling too much. Like I would get embarrassed if I got teary, like even with you, while we're talking. And because I would cry when I was angry, I'd cry when I was disappointed, I'd cry when I was sad. As I've learned how to
hardened yourself.
No, learned how to compartmentalize because I can't feel everything my clients feel and be good at my job. Because then all we would do is cry during the session and we wouldn't get anything done.
Right.
And then I start worrying that they're worrying that I'm crying. Oh my gosh, I made my therapist cry. No. So anyway, and so yes, I've learned to compartmentalize. I hear some terrible things in counseling, in therapy sessions, and I don't let them get to me. Sometimes though in my personal life, And sometimes I'm embarrassed if I'm crying about something that doesn't seem like it needs tears.
Sure.
The dog dies. I'm not embarrassed about crying when the dog dies.
I was about to
But
say, I
sometimes,
shed tears when the dog died. What are you talking about?
but sometimes, yeah, one of the only few times I've seen you cry. But sometimes, there's those I'm like, I don't want to talk about now because I don't want to cry. And I know I'll cry if I'm. And so sometimes it would be nice to be able to be detached from my feelings a little bit in my personal life, like I can do in my professional life,
Interesting.
which is harder.
Yeah, it probably doesn't help that one of your daughters rails on you when you cry because you are pretty emotional and she's not. And so every time you cry about stuff, she sort of probably jabs you a little bit about it.
Yeah, that's okay.